of course, as a Nigerian living in any part of the world. My name is Emmanuel Ujadugele, and do not be scared. Femi is around this morning.
Well, thank God it's Friday, as they say, in this part of the world. Thank you so much for linking up with us on Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. It's the last edition of the program for the week, but It's the second day of December. And, you know, we do hope that this month brings us good tidings for all Nigerians. But then for so many, it's, you know, not a good way to start the month. It's sort of hardship. Came in this morning again, but I was stuck in traffic for some time. Imagine these early times, as early as around after 6:30, because there are long queues in some of the filling stations around La Meco area. And, you know, the queues are short that it connects this filling station here, the queue almost, you know, reaching the other filling station and it's filling, you know. And so you see that bottleneck around that area. And I'm wondering how early they got there. Some of the filling stations have not even opened at all. Wow. Or you see cars in front of there. I mean, why do we have sort of situation where the president is the Minister of Petroleum?
A lot of presidents have forgotten that.
Oh, I mean, but we have not forgotten. We're asking. So who takes responsibility for this current, you know, full scarcity that's making life unbearable for the average Nigerian? And NNPC issued a statement not long ago talking about the fact that they have enough in stock. And so why are we not seeing on the streets? You know, so Nigerians are not perhaps waiting for explanations or platitudes. What they want is just make our life easier.
Yes.
Get this off the street. Get this scarcity of the street, and let's be able to get fuel. But
all right, we hope that the federal government and relevant agencies can address that issue. It's a Blue Friday today, if you notice.
Yeah, what makes it blue?
The weather are blue this morning. We'll bring you the newspaper review segment of the program after this break. All right, welcome back to the show Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Do not forget to follow us on our social media handles at Western Spring Television on Facebook and Instagram, but on Twitter it's at WSTV_NG. You can also find us on YouTube, where you can watch all of our programs live. And do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel when you get there. We'll go straight to the newspapers this morning to bring you headlines, to bring you stories that are making the rounds. And we begin with the Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper is where we're kick-starting from this morning. Federal government, that's the banner headline. Federal government says we supported state with 5.03 trillion naira in 7 years. We supported states with 5.03 trillion naira in 7 years. The writer there says Nigeria not broke, not defaulting in debt payment. We're trying to reduce poverty, says states. And there's a box there. What they got: 13% derivation, 1.978 trillion naira. Paris Club refunds 2.67 billion naira. Dollars. Ecological funds 204 billion naira. COVID intervention 50 billion naira. Federal road repairs 648 billion naira. These are huge figures being bandied around.
All manner of money, you know, given to the state. But then when the state collects this money, we don't get to know. Talked about this yesterday, about the Niger Delta state, and about Wiki sort of snitching on his fellow governors from that region, and not many of them comfortable. They were forced to come out and do explanations. Like we say, they had to come and do shalaye, you know. But then someone was asking this morning, something early this morning, and someone was saying, so if federal government spend this much, give the states this much, aside the statutory, you know, monies that belong to the state, you know, so how come the federal government didn't make it public then? And now we should ask questions. When the states complain about inability to pay salaries and the states to lack money, where are these monies going into? You know, I mean, vilify Wiki for what, I mean, for what he like, for who he is. But then he opened the kind of worms, sort of, you know, with that with that, statement that time about the fact that Buhari actually paid them, and Buhari did not say because it belongs to a different party. He paid them some of the backlog of those 13% derivation. And so many of this, one of the states came out to explain that they had 186 billion naira. But you will not say reflect. They never talked about it before. So now the federal government is also saying 5.03 trillion naira in 7 years. That's a huge lot of money.
And then there's a breakdown there. And you wonder, the federal rules repair, and these people keep saying that the federal government says they won't pay back. When
some of the states, they got, I mean, remember that I've interviewed the Commissioner for Works here, the immediate past Commissioner for Works, and admitted at some point that they got some of those monies and said they were plowed back into some of the projects. And I'm sure some of the other states also got some of these funds. But when they do, we need more transparency in government, essentially. We need the citizens, we need journalists, we need the civil society to do more in beaming the searchlight on government finances. At best, is opaque in many parts of the country. Of
course, we hope that they can do that. Now we'll move on. How governors misuse council funds by Buhari. How governors misuse council funds. There's a quote there under that story. The person who was doing this was a qualified lawyer. He was experienced, yet he participated in this type of corruption. It's a season of throwing shades and jabs in the political sphere this time. Now, Tinubu promises to industrialize Bayelsa as part of his campaign promises. On the below, at the bottom of the Nation newspaper, 4 die in governor's convoy crash as Governor Abdullahi Fintiri word yesterday that he was involved in a ghastly accident, and 4 persons died in his convoy. And Buhari warns governors using thugs. Buhari warns governors using thugs. And above the nameplate, court orders arrest of Chief of Army Staff Commandant. That's for contempt too, just like the IGP order of arrest that we talked about yesterday. Tribunal rejects Adeleke's WAEC GCE certificates. Interesting one there, but I do not totally agree with the headline because I was in court yesterday. And what happened was that INEC, in compliance with an order of the tribunal, brought the document from CF001, and some of the pages were not legible. According to the tribunal, they were blurry and unreadable. So the tribunal ordered for a clearer file containing clearer copy, so it did not reject the certificate.
All right, so.
And then before we leave, GDP growth to close on positive note, says LCCR, and 13% derivation. Attack me if you can, Wiki desk colleagues.
Yeah. You know, you like Wiki's vibe sometimes, but you also wonder what kind of a man is he? Does he also think about life after office?
Yes.
You know, I mean, so perhaps, how many enemies have you made since you lost the presidential election?
He's planning to jump after the elections.
Oh, I see. To Canada or UK?
I would say Australia, because that's where you have all of this.
And it's the farthest.
Yes.
If anybody gets to reach it at 23, 24 hours.
24 hours,
yes. Okay, well, so let's move on to the Guardian newspaper. That headline you read the other time about the president talking about abuse or misuse of local government funds. You'll find the headline, the banner headline of the Guardian newspaper, very interesting. Again, Buhari accuses governors of stealing local government funds, slowing growth. That's the president practically calling the governors thieves, you know. So again, Buhari accuses governors of stealing local government funds, slowing growth, pledges to act on NIPSS report. Wike berates AGA over comment on governors feeling poverty. We're coming after your thugs. NSA wants governors obstructing opposition campaign. Well,
let me just really quote from that story that Buhari is saying, this is my personal experience. If the money from the federation account to the state is about 100 million naira, 50 million naira will be sent to the chairman, but he will sign that he received 100 million. The governor will pocket the balance and share it with whoever he wants to share with it. That the story continues on page 6.
And if you check the other part of that, so they now said the remainder also, the chairman pays salaries of workers, and then he does with what he wants with the remaining. I mean, so it's such a cesspool of corruption. And, you know, the way states have emasculated local government is disappointing. We talked about this yesterday also, about the fact that if that tier of government is given, you know, the freedom to operate, it has the potential to take many Nigerians out of poverty. But unfortunately, that's not what we have. And this comment by Buhari, I said it before. Remember, there was an executive order issued some time ago trying to free local government funds, and I think it was challenged in court. But you also find Nolge supporting the president on this. Now again, for students of politics, there is a contradiction as to the I can't remember what it's called now. I mean, for student of political science, I would say that you know, the political theories only recognize that there is the federal and the state.
There's an identity crisis.
Yes, and so and such that the state can do with whatever.
Yes, I think I remember that section. It says that the laws and everything concerning the House of the local government to be made, you know, by the House of Assembly, and the House of Assembly is at the mercy practically of the executive. So the executive can use the House of Assembly to do whatever they like to do.
So I mean, that's not about the president accusing governors of stealing local government funds and slowing growth. Just below the nameplate above that story, South Africa President Ramaphosa may resign over a crime scandal. That's in another climb. We don't get to hear that here. If you like commit murder, you will defend and then you will stay in office. Recurrent indecency of first ladies. That's an editorial by The Punch. You know, the first lady is coming under fire over her actions regarding Mohammed. You know, and interestingly also, there's some people who've withdrawn their support for the guy because of the tweet he made back about Deborah Yakub, you know, who was murdered in Sokoto. But nonetheless, you should not base your fight for justice on a person's character.
Well,
sometimes
two wrongs can coexist. Right. Two rights can also coexist. Yes. 2 wrongs do not make a right.
Yes.
That someone committed an offense does not mean we should leave them to also. So because it could be anybody.
It could be anybody. It could be anybody. APC admits Oyetola others took away official vehicles after approval. This story actually came via Rev FM
and
yesterday, WSTV, really. And so you can get to read more about that on page 8. Akwa Ibom YPP Giba candidate jailed for 2 years for corruption. So, you know, if that's the case, it won't be standing for election, is that? And just downstream of the paper, 2023, we don't want to be left behind. 30 million PWDs, that's people living with disability, tell INEC and candidates. So that's what the Guardian newspaper this morning.
Well, moving on straight to the Punch newspaper this morning, the banner headline there says, federal allocations, oil producing states borrow 1.3 trillion naira amid 6.4 trillion naira windfall. Pandef others ask Niger Delta governors to showcase development projects. Oil producing states received 1.9 trillion naira as derivation fund under Buhari as a minister. 13% derivation includes DESPADEC funds, money judiciously spent, says Delta. That's the banner headline this morning. We did say yesterday that Okowa is directly at the forefront of Wiki's jabs, and the Delta State government is coming out to defend Shalaye now, you know, and talk about how they've spent the money. And you see Pandef asking other Niger Delta governors to showcase development projects. It's only reasonable.
So, I mean, we've asked the question, we've not been able to get any clear-cut answers. How do you explain a state like Bayelsa, with a fewer number of local governments, you know, even a fewer population, owing salaries, you know, an oil-producing state that's rich? Delta State perhaps is one of the richest states in Nigeria in terms of allocation because of this 13% derivation. And now, Punch did a good job in analyzing this, saying in the midst of a 6.4 trillion naira windfall, this state went ahead to borrow 1.3 trillion naira. How do you explain that? How? You know, and so it's good that everybody is asking questions of the governors now.
At the instance of Wiki, we must say, because Wiki is the whistleblower.
He's a whistleblower. Okay.
All right, still on the Punch newspaper, but above the nameplate now. Governor stealing LG funds, says Buhari. Noge backs president. That's the story recurring on newspapers this morning. Politicians behind attacks on INEC facilities. That's former INEC chairman Atahiru Jega. Politicians behind attacks on INEC facilities. That's a weighty allegation. And stop using thugs. NSA wants governors. NSA one governors stop using thugs. That story actually also comprises a directive to sitting governors to stop impeding the campaign process of the opposition parties. That's a very good one for democracy. Beside the nameplate on the Punch newspaper, field queues grow longer after federal government sufficiency claim. the federal government claimed yesterday that we had enough to go around for 34 days, you know, but it's not looking like that on the streets. Below, just at the bottom of the newspaper, you can see a disheartening picture of vehicles on both sides of the road. On both sides of the road, the left side and the right side, you can see how far, how long that queue goes. Now, this itself will impede traffic, meaning that people who even don't want to get fuel would be stuck in traffic.
The wasted, I mean, they again wasted fuel in traffic. And
someone said, you feel use foil, find foil, may you not see foil. You know, if it's very possible, you go out with your car, like the person you said traveled, you know, went round and still couldn't get any fuel.
Yes.
It's worrisome.
And so one of our colleagues here yesterday talked about the fact that, you know, jokingly on Facebook said she is looking for a female fuel attendant at this moment to date for a serious relationship, you know, because this
so
is the time
get
really.
Priority when it comes to the queues.
Of course, I mean, it's gotten to that, and it's very, very sad.
Right.
This picture is you know, it's a perfect description of what Nigerians are going through at the moment. And this is not just limited to that Shagama Abeokuta road. It's everywhere. I told you about coming in this morning and running into traffic as well because of queues on the road.
All right, before we leave the Punch newspaper, Oyetola Adeleke disagree over 76 billion naira unpaid salaries, pensions. That's part of the drama unraveling in Osun State.
We've said it is one day, one drama in Osun, and it's going to taper off at some point, but these early days, let's bask in it. Let's enjoy while it lasts. And
of course.
We're talking about that somewhat also on the program this morning, about who left what was left, who did not leave what, and all of that. We'll be getting to hear about it on the program today.
Cultists shoot ex-students dead in Yabatek. Suspect snapped. And Aisha Buhari, Nance plans protest. Sweeps knock critic. That's on page 8 of the Punch newspaper.
Okay, so let's do the Nigerian Tribune. Buhari blast governors over theft of local government allocation. With the riders, states received 5.03 trillion naira, $3.4 billion support under Buhari, finance minister. We're coming for your thugs. NSA wants governors obstructing opposition campaign. It's still about the president not happy. This isn't the first time he's saying this about local government funds, but it's good that he's blasting them. If the governors feel hard done by, they should react. Let's get the city reaction.
And then this time he's stylishly naming names. Remember on the Nation newspaper, he said the person involved is a lawyer who knows what he should do, but is still involved in that kind of corruption. So I think the president is being pushed to the point of naming names and pointing fingers.
Why not? I mean, so why not name names? Let us know them. So let's know who to shame and who to blame, or, you know, and then let's get out of these. Adamu's tweets, and Nance plans nationwide protest against Aisha Buhari Monday. Your comments, unpresidential, breach peace accord. Dati tells Tinubu Shetima. U.S. used to consult Nigeria before taking decisions on Africa. Obasanjo, the good old days. I think in the Fourth Republic, Obasanjo's presidency seems to be, seems to me to have the best foreign policy, you know, programs and direction of all of the other presidents. Nigeria was big in the actual sense of the word on the continent at time. And Obasanjo here saying before US they took decisions on Africa, then the U.S. ordinarily will consult Nigeria. I'm not sure they do the same anymore.
I'm not very sure. And of course, his presidency was well respected, and it's still evident in how much of responsibility Nigeria gets.
An international elder statesman.
Yes, himself and President Goodluck Jonathan. I mean, just 2 months or last month, he helped. That's Obasanjo now.
Yeah.
He helped broker peace in Ethiopia after 2 years of war.
Yes,
and that speaks to the fact that his precedence, his actions in office earned him and his administration that sort of respect on the international stage.
All right, so, well, just below the banner headline, despite arrest threat, we stand with Atiku. Rivers PDP supporters declare gunmen abduct travelers in 18-seater bus. Another case of abduction fuels scarcity. NNPC allays fear, says 2 billion liters of PMS in stock. And Oyetola left 76 billion naira debt in salary, pensions, Osun government. We did not owe salary Oyetola responding there. Osun Tribunal, INEC produces blood copies of Adeleke's WAEC GCE. Court orders INEC to produce clearer, readable copies. And another story from the court affirms Adebutu as the Ogun PDP governorship candidate. 2023 police barred from carrying lethal weapons at polling booths. And on easy calm, Osun on easy calm in Ire over overship tussle. Security operatives whisk head of kingmakers away.
That's a disturbing one. Again, we do not expect that at this time and at this age, these things should be causing problems. But of course, people have different interests. Different houses have interest, and it will be important, like we said before, that the government steps in to forestall further breakdown of law and order, because you can't allow these things go on. Yes, people have the right to protest, they have the right to seek redress, but they should do that within the ambit of the law and not take matters into their hands. A palace was razed down in Ikirun. Someone was chased out of the palace, and then almost the same thing happened, I think, in Ire.
Yeah, yes. I mean, a part of the palace was also touched.
Yes, and earlier this year, in Awo, in Egbedore local government, there was also that issue, you know. So all of these kinship issues and tussles need to be nipped in the bud. And it was, very good to see, like I said, the correct reportage of the tribunal incident yesterday. INEC produces blood copies of Adeleke's WAEC GCE, and then the order that followed INEC. There was an interesting development, I must say.
Yeah.
You know, the tribunal chairman told the lawyers to go confer amongst themselves and pick a date for adjournment. Then they came back, and INEC council said we had agreed on Wednesday. APC council stood up and said we didn't agree on Wednesday. We chose Tuesday. The INEC council stood up and apologized to everybody. Then the tribunal chairman said that it is unfortunate that this has to happen, but everybody must be here on Saturday 2nd. I don't want to hear Tuesday or Wednesday. You're coming back here on Saturday, on Saturday 3rd. And failure to do that will invoke the tribunal's coercive powers on the commission. And I tell you,
because there was no agreement between Tuesday and Wednesday?
Yes, because they were just bantering each other without really getting to the point. And then immediately after that, we struggled to get interviews yesterday. All the lawyers just left in anger, but there's really nothing they can do.
So, oh my goodness.
It has gotten to that point.
So the next sitting is on Saturday?
Saturday, yes. At the pre-trial hearing, the tribunal agreed that they were going to sit on, tomorrow, they were going to sit on Saturdays and public holidays if need be, you know. But for some time, none of the lawyers have agreed to sit on Saturdays or public holidays. And now the tribunal is reminding them that there is such an agreement. Yeah. And now that you are both failing to reach an agreement,
next time they will come to agreement,
of course, immediately to avoid being coerced into that. So that's on the Tribune newspaper this morning, and we can take the Daily Trust. Now, the banner headline says, Nigeria needs no debt relief, Finance Minister. Nigeria needs no debt relief. Federal government releases 5.03 trillion naira, $3.4 billion to states in 7 years. Nigeria's debt stock 42.8 trillion naira in June. That's from the Debt Management Office. And Ghana's debt crisis stirs fears in Nigeria. That's on pages 5 and 28 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Nigeria needs no debt relief, Finance Minister. That's from the Daily Trust. A very interesting claim there. That Nigeria needs no debt relief. And above that story, above the banner headline, Aisha Buhari, Dati Ahmed 6 release of detained student. Dati Ahmed 6 release of detained student. Kano conference, clerics decry using religion for campaigns. Clerics decry using religion for campaigns. And Abuja Kaduna train service resumes December 5. That's the federal government. Those are stories on the Daily Trust newspaper. Below the banner headline, nothing will stop 2023 general elections, as the NSA making that claim. Ogun, Labour Party expels Obi's campaign DG Okukpe, 10 others. On page 58, and Buhari accuses governors of pocketing local government allocations. Those are the stories you have on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. The finance minister saying we need no debt relief. It's, I don't know, do we even have enough to cater for our own needs?
Well, so I mean, I think it also borders on sovereignty and the perception. If she says we need debt relief, you can be sure that our ratings will tumble immediately. You know, there'll be adjustment of Nigeria's credibility and credit rating. So some of this, there was an interview she granted, I think, Bloomberg, and our choice of word was not that clear, and they sent waves, you know, I mean, shock waves round. She had to come immediately do, you know, a clarification, sort of a rebuttal, because Denise Abine seems to have misquoted her, quoted her out of context. So fiscal monetary leaders, authorities are very careful with choice of words. Even if doing some of those things, you don't want to send shock waves around the economic system. It has very serious implications. But the other headline that interests me here, Emmanuel, is about Ogun LP expelling Obi's campaign DG Okukpe and 10 others. What's happening within the Obedient family? Is all well?
Well, I don't think all is well, because Peter Obi came into a party that was heavily divided. At the time he emerged presidential candidates, there were about 2-3 factions, you know, and so it's very, very obvious that they still have issues to sort out within the party. And I think the support and the admiration Peter Obi is getting is actually covering up some of those things.
In managing that division, so that extent, but it's coming up again now.
Yes, for Ogun State Labour Party to expand. I mean, they've not even been in the news. Nobody even knew that Ogun LP. And then you can also you cannot take away the fact that there's a possible political twist to it too. Why are you coming out at this time to say that you're charging him with corruption?
You know, Donye Okukpe is from Ogun State, and so perhaps there is no harmonious relationship between him and the LP guys in Ogun. There was a press conference they had a couple of days back, and they made some very serious allegations about, you know, some of these issues. But we do hope that they get it sorted as we can move on. But that's the papers for you this morning on Morning Spring, Western Spring Television. I'll be back after this time out.
Wọ́n bá jáde mọ̀rìnwó la kọ́kọ́ rí ọwọ́ gẹ́gẹ́ ní síwájú ìjó ẹsẹ̀ katakata ní síwájú rìn bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti ń gbúrò wa a tún ti dé náà nù ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò Owambe Unlimited pẹ̀lú èmi ọmọ yín olólùfẹ́ yín ọ̀rẹ́ yín Suliat tẹ̀túmọ̀ sí Morenikeji ẹ lè pè mí ní Susu tó bá wẹ̀ lómi a sọ pé ìyálòde àríyá gbogbo orúkọ tẹ́ ẹ bá pè mí kò sí èyí tí mi ò ní jẹ yín ẹ farabalẹ̀ kẹ́ ẹ máa gbádùn ètò Owambe Unlimited lórí ìkànnì Western Spring Television ní ìkànnì 190 ibẹ̀ ni Owambe Unlimited ń bọ̀ wá ẹ fàkùrẹ̀ tẹ̀dí kẹ́ ẹ máa gbádùn ètò àríyá wa.
Mo ń sọ fún yín pé ẹ máa wo Owambe Unlimited lórí Western Spring Television.
According to the words of Michael Forbes, one who never asks questions either knows everything or nothing. Watch me as I ask the questions you think no one wants to answer. Even questions it appears no one has got the guts to ask. My name is Femi Adefila, and I've got the gut. Let's ask the pertinent questions and watch as we get answers.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We're on to Morning Spring, and it's coming to you from Western Spring Television. Western Spring Television, you can check us out on Star Times DTT channel 190, and also on YouTube at Western Spring Television. When you check us out on YouTube, do well to subscribe. Click on the subscribe button. You can also check out some of our activities on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter. On Facebook and Instagram is at Western Spring Television, while at Twitter, you can check us out at WSTV_NG. So let's bring you the interviews this morning. Yesterday, there was a statement released by the spokesperson to the governor, Malam Olawale Rashid, saying instead of the 14 billion naira that the hotel administration said they left in, behind in cash, that from the briefings they've gotten so far, what they can see is 76 billion naira in debt. I'm talking about salary arrears and pensions and some others. But we'll be joined shortly, soon now, by the spokesperson to Governor Ademola Adeleke, Executive Governor of Osun State, Malam Olawale Rashid, joining us. Thank you so much for joining us on Morning Spring this morning, Malam.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, so you issued that statement yesterday saying instead of having cash or, having some monies, as the hotel administration claimed, that what you have is 76 billion naira in debt. Do you mind explaining to us what you've discovered so far?
As a background, you remember there was no handing over, and we had no handing over notes. So we started taking briefing from the agencies, ministries, and parastatals. So yesterday, the Ministry of Finance, the permanent secretary, the coordinating director, was at hand, and she made a submission, very extensive submission, that first the salary arrears, pensions, and insurance totaled 75.800 and something, approximately 76 billion naira. And what first shocked most of us at the hearing was that the claim of having left 14 billion in the state account, the disclosure by the coordinating director was so clearly at variance, and we were shocked that we are inheriting 76 billion debt. That's salary related, that's covering salaries, pensions, and insurance matters. And there was somebody who claimed I left 14 billion, propaganda line, presenting a picture as if the state is so buoyant, you don't have issues. So when the PAMSEC gave us that breakdown, it was too shocking, and we thought we should quickly alert the public. So
you're saying you have not seen any 14 billion naira since you came into office?
There was no handing over, no. There was no 14 billion. The only thing we know as of now is what the finance ministry top official told us. And that was the fact that we are in debt on salary-related matter up to 76 billion naira. In other words, the hotel administration lied and deceived the public. And last time I appeared, I told you you'll be getting more revelations. Today, the briefing continues. The coordinating director and other officials are coming to continue the briefing. But the reality is that as at yesterday, during the briefing, Osun people should know that Governor Ademola Adeleke inherited 76 billion naira salary-related debt.
Okay, so, but I mean, the media aides to the former governor, Ismail Omekpino, reacted almost immediately yesterday, saying this is a big lie. There is no truth in it, that the hotel administration never owed a dime, not even for a month. Instead, that's why for the 4 years he ruled, there were no strikes by the labor unions, and they did not owe any salary at that time at all. So how do you reconcile this?
Let me quickly say this. If you read that press statement, those figures are not those were from the Ministry of Finance, not from any of our official political functionaries. And it was said openly. and in the presence of journalists, in the presence of dignitaries. Now, when Ismail said, Oyetola, if you read Ismail's
well, it seems that the network, acting funny, but we'll try and reconnect to Malam Alawali Rashid so that we can continue the conversation here. Emmanuel, what is some interesting takes here? Yeah, so who is saying the truth? Who is saying the lie?
Well, it's at this point, you just want to watch both of them.
Okay, so I understand that Malam Rashid is back now. I hope you can hear me now.
So sorry for this.
Yes. Okay, please go ahead.
You are here. I'm okay. I should go on.
Yes, please go on, sir.
Okay. The salary areas is 29.8 something. That's approximately 30 billion. The pension areas is 45 point something. That's approximately 46 billion. Insurance and all those related to 554. That's almost approximately 600 million. Now, when he was talking yesterday, he said there was no salary areas. Is he not saying the whole Ministry of Finance is lying? The custodian of statistics, data, and all whatever information you need as to finance matters is the Ministry of Finance. And they were quoting data. Is he saying the ministry cooked up all these figures with analysis? Omikida is just still acting like a propagandist that they were when they were in government. Because if they were not, how will you deny what come not from, these are information from the establishment. The establishment that worked with Oyetola for 4 years. And we are just coming in, we are taking briefing. Now, we now see the reason why Governor Oyetola avoided doing proper handing over. If he had properly handed over to us, we would have seen clearly that, or some people will have said, this is what this man is leaving, and would have published whatever is leaving behind. But we're just taking briefing, and this is just one ministry. So how we say we should not be reverting to Omipida again. He's bound to be defending the rot and the mess they left behind. But the good thing for us that some people should know is that the figure we are quoting is not from Governor Adeleke, it's not from me, it's from the states records and data.
Okay, so Malam, let me put this to you before my colleague Emmanuel comes in. Oyetola insists that he did not owe anybody any money. That for 4 years he paid salaries as I went due, and he said that's why he didn't have any strike. So if salaries were paid as and when due, when did he owe the salaries then?
So when I put it to you again, this data we have is from the Ministry of Finance. It's from the establishment. So they have all the data. If you are covering up anything as a governor,
oh my, the network
out of that, the public document has no proper handing over. And we suspected this is one of the reasons. That is to say, they are
okay, so we do hope that it comes back. I mean, breaking. Okay, so he's back now. Also, let me put this to you. Read part of Omikpido's statement. They said, and I quote, "Our suspicion is that they have gone to dig up the arrears owed by their partner and collaborator, the settlement of which they used to hoodwink some workers ahead of July 16 governorship contest." End of quote. If I get it right there, I think he was referring to Rauf Aregbesola. So is it that this debt is part of the backlog of salaries that was owed, salary or salaries owed during the Aregbesola administration? Do you know if that's what this is?
Let me put it this way. If you have a handing over note, it gives you liabilities, assets of a government. And what happened yesterday was what we've been giving. all those detailed analysis, we don't know. What we just know, and we want the public to know, is that we are inheriting 76 billion naira. All this issue of maybe it's an inheritance from ABC. Oyetola was fully responsible as the governor who governed for 4 years. What are we saying about whether it's this? We don't know that. We don't know the details. But the details that we know, and as before us, is that there are pension area of almost 46 billion, salary area of almost 26 billion, and insurance matters. So we will say we are not interested in what we are interested in is what we were told by the ministry. And the briefing continues today. And it was done in public. It was not a cooked up figure. So if somebody is now clarifying that, okay, maybe it's area from A, B, C, we don't know that. What we know is that Oyetola left 76 billion naira salary-related debts.
All right, Malam, earlier before that statement about the debt arrears, your government issued another statement saying that you are frowning at the delay in payment of salaries for November, and you did ask some questions about why there was that delay. But in Mr. Ismail Omikpidan's statement, he said, and I'll quote, "And for November salary, we actually signed off since November 20th, end of quote." Have you got any explanation as to why salaries have not been paid according to your statement yesterday?
Luckily, you quoted our statement. Again, I will revert to that briefing. At the briefing, His Excellency asked, why have you people not paid salaries? That was a pointed question. And the coordinating director and all of them said the challenges they have was that some ministries are yet to supply their salary schedule. And we now count them. They said they're almost 50-something. And His Excellency was angry that why are they not submitting salary schedule? And that was why he issued that directive that under 24 hours, something should be done. Now again, look at the context. There was a question thrown to the establishment, which is in charge of processing of data and salary activities. Now, they came back and said they are here to get salary schedule from some agencies. And as a compassionate governor, His Excellency come up and said, no, immediately, within 24 hours, all those agencies should comply, submit their salary schedule so that they can be paid. You see it now. So don't let us be referring to men of yesterday who are justifying the evil they left behind. The reality is that most of these figures, facts we are giving out, they are from the establishment, people that work with them for 4 years. And His Excellency has done the right thing by giving that directive.
Now, the part of Omikpidan's statement was that, quote, on the day of inauguration, the governor said it would take time for him to pay salaries because he needed to freeze government account to enable him look at the books, end of quote. Could that also have been a reason?
Now, I want to advise, if a journalist, a former journalist or a spokesperson quoted wrongly, where in the speech of His Excellency was that statement that you read now? There was none. Go and read the speech. There was nothing like, why I will not pay. What he said in that statement, in the speech, in the inauguration speech, is that a lot of things were done to set Bobby trap for his administration. And you want to tell us some people that in taking time, they need their patience to clear the mess. There was never anything about salary and all those. The account of the state was put on hold because we want to stop possibility of diversion, which has been happening since July 17. So what you are quoting is wrong. It's not in the inauguration speech. He never said that. But what he said is that they should give him patience and time to clear the rot, the mess he met on ground. And we all know the mess. From July 17 till date, you know what happened in Osun. So a new governor will come in, and it is a governor that is coming in without his predecessor handing over any notes to him, without proper transition committee. So we came in, tabula rasa, we are starting from the scratch, just like what happened on the deputy governor's lodge. Our deputy governor came out and said the place is looted. People don't know that he's not even talking from himself, from his own there were record videos of the deputy governor's lodge fully looted. Our deputy governor is a man of honor, is not a flippant speaker. But if you see the video, you will cry for Osun State. So what I'm trying to say is that don't let us be quoting from wrong sources, because go and look at the inauguration speech. His Excellency never referred to anything like that. What he was saying was that he need time to clear the mess.
Well, Malam Rashid, what do you mean by diversion?
When I say diversion, if you don't put the account on hold, you don't know what you are meeting on ground. There was no handing over note to you. So it's better you maintain the integrity of the state account by putting it on hold. And when I say diversion, a lot of payments were made, a lot of checks and all those were raised before we came on board. It's only normal for you to put it on hold so that you can get hold of the financial processes.
So, I mean, are you saying, Malam, that the freezing of the state's accounts is not responsible for the delay in payment of salaries? And that's what some people believe.
No, it's not, that is never. Okay, let me ask. If His Excellency asked a top official who is in charge and said, why have you not paid salary? And the response from the person is that the salary schedule is not yet completed. And somebody here claimed he has signed on November salary since. You know, that is lying again. Who are you to believe? Let me put it this way. Political functionaries who looted, pillaged the state, and they were so scared of their shadow, they cannot even drop, they cannot constitute transition committee. They cannot actually hand over properly. Or do you want to believe the custodian of data and information about the state as the establishment? So the establishment told us, and we have no reason to doubt them. And that's why His Excellency had to issue that directive immediately, that within 24 hours, salary should be processed. So,
you know, how soon should the workers of Osun now expect to get the salaries?
Incidentally, you have the press statement, and definitely as quickly as possible. They are on it because the directive has been issued.
Okay, so at that briefing yesterday, Malam, was there no mention of any savings for the state or any money somewhere that was left off, you know, in the treasury by the outgoing government? Was it only about liabilities and the debts?
You know, like I said, the briefing continues today. You know, the agency and the ministries are so big and wide, and they just started yesterday. So by today,
I reckon that as regards finance and the treasury, it will be Ministry of Finance. I mean, you've done finance yesterday, so...
No. Finance continues today.
Oh, finance still continues today?
Yes, yes. It could not be completed yesterday because it was so wide and deep, and a lot of clarifications had to be made. So it continues today. So maybe today, like I told our media friends, they should also come, they will be around, like many were around yesterday, to watch and listen. But what we have as of today is that Oyetola left 76 billion naira salary-related debt. And those figures are from the establishment, not from His Excellency or from me.
Okay, so just before we let you go, Malam, on the issue of the deputy governor alleging that his quarters was pillaged and, you know, looted, stripped bare, the immediate past deputy governor, Benedict Alabi, responded through his media aide yesterday, Gafari Suleiman, and he described the allegations leveled against him as unverified and spurious. In fact, he said he received the news with rude shock. And, you know, in explaining, he said he clarified that he didn't take anything. He said the government vehicles in his custody are a staff car, that's a Toyota Land Cruiser, and 2 Toyota Hilux trucks assigned for the movement of his security details duly transferred to him. He also said that the other exotic vehicles that could be noticed in his motorcade are his personal vehicles that he deployed to the services of the state. And he said that if there is any missing vehicle, that you should direct your inquiries to the Director Office of the Deputy Governor. And he said that director absconded from office 2 weeks to the end of their administration and abandoned his responsibilities of inventory taking and his engagement arrangement. And he also said, I'd like you to add this one to it, that it's not only fallacious and reckless, those statements that he took stuff away. He said he left behind 3 sets of sitting room furniture, dining set, many air conditioners, television sets, refrigerators, freezers, kitchen cooker, and many others. So, I mean, this flies in the face of whatever has been said from your end when you came into government here.
Thank you very much. I hope you know our Deputy Governor, His Excellency, Prince Kola Adebusi, very well. He's not a flippant person. He's a well-respected political leader. That is why we said any outgoing government that fail to do what is right in terms of transition committee and adding over, they normally run into issues. Let me give you an example. He said the director absconded. And when the director absconded, he too failed, and the former governor failed to do proper handing over. Now, immediately we took over, we sent people around. And interestingly, we have videos of most of these buildings. We're not talking, we didn't even mention vehicles. We're talking of the Deputy Governor's Lodge. I want to tell you, if you see, I'll send that video to your station so that you can hear him and you see who the liar is. You see clearly the liar is, are these people, they are lying. They lied in government and they are still lying. Now, he could have said, okay, this is the only thing I took. That is, but the most important thing is that what we find is that the place is pillaged, fully ruined. A lot of fittings removed, nothing in that place. If you see the video, I said you will wait for sure. Now, the question is this. If you have a video that authenticates, and this video, we got it as early as Sunday, Monday. That's Sunday. That's the day of inauguration. The video is not yesterday. And the video is detailed, both inside the compound and all those. So who looted? Is it saying some miscreant came from somewhere and then looted it, a whole deputy governor's lodge? So what I want to put to the public is that our deputy governor is not a flippant person, very serious leader, and he spoke based on evidence. And these are not evidence of hearsay. We're talking of a video that exists.
So you are insisting that the deputy governor will be held, former deputy governor will be held responsible for it? Malam, are you with me? Okay, well, it appears that the connection has gone off, but I guess that will be it for that. But it's some clarifications. We don't know. All parties making claims
and counterclaims. You know, so it's left for the Osun people to also decide on what they consider to be the truth. And unfortunately, this will continue for some time.
Yes, it will. I believe that, for example, the deputy governor's lodge is the only one being hotly contested now, as it were. Now, I want to see what happens when the governor appoints cabinet members and they also have to move into their quarters. It will be interesting to hear what they also have to say. And then it will also be interesting to hear what other ministries have to say. I still would want either of them to clarify. If the governor signed off, as Omikpidon claims, on the 20th of November, or a salary, or November salary. That's 7 days before handover. Yeah. And salary schedules should have been prepared within those 7 days. So we would try to get across to. And so, I mean, I remember that in the days leading to the exit of Oyetola and the days leading, there were allegations that the Accountant General had refused to implement that, but salary payment directive, perhaps because it was waiting for the new governor. I mean, civil servants can be funny, their neutrality. You also had the former deputy governors accusing the director of the deputy governor's office of absconding. And that should be a criminal offense. Yes, I mean, if you check the statement, the full statement, they alleged or insinuated that was because he was already taking orders from the incoming deputy governor. Well, let's take a break so that when we return, we'll be giving you the other side of this conversation, bringing you up to speed, and then getting to know, really, if 76 billion naira debt is what Oyetola left before he vacated office on Sunday.
A TV station that breaks the barriers of your TV screen. A TV station that brings infotainment to your forefront, breaking the conceptual fourth wall. Giving you television that is personal to you and your everyday life. Indigenous broadcasting for every man, cutting across the shackles of age, class, and language. With the best of equipment in digitized broadcasting. At Western Spring Television, your television experience has never been this magical.
We'll bring you the best in news and programs, breaking news to you as it drops from where it drops.
Talk shows that keep you glued to your seats. Sports programs not void of in-depth analysis. Entertainment programs cutting across all ages. Political analysis with all its accompanying controversies. Social responsibility because we care. Western Nigeria gave us our first feel of television. Western Spring Television is taking us to the next level. Can you imagine the feeling when you get your news as the break with facts and clarity? Our news are reported as it is.
In Africa, and all those who masterminded the way it happened, we have to pay a price.
Enjoy Western programs, projecting culture and tradition to the world. Brought to you as the break and recapped every hour for your update.
We must never forget the sacrifices of the heroes of Nigeria's democracy.
Produced and brought to you in a unique way never before seen.
Western Spring.
Western Spring.
And Western Spring Television.
Television is coming home in your color and culture.
Bẹ́gùn bá jáde mọ̀rìnwó la kọ́kọ́ rí ọwọ́ gẹ́gẹ́ ní síwájú ìjó ẹsẹ̀ katakata ní síwájú rìn bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti ń gbúrò wa a tún ti dé náà nù ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò Owambe Unlimited pẹ̀lú èmi ọmọ yín olólùfẹ́ yín ọ̀rẹ́ yín Suliat tẹ́túmọ̀ sí Morenikeji ẹ lè pè mí ní Susu tó bá wẹ lómi a sọ pé ìyálòde àríyá gbogbo orúkọ tẹ́ ẹ bá pè mí kò sí èyí tí mi ò ní jẹ yín ẹ farabalẹ̀ kẹ́ ẹ máa gbádùn ètò Owambe Unlimited lórí ìkànnì Western Spring Television ní ìkànnì 190 ibẹ̀ ni Owambe Unlimited ń bọ̀ wá ẹ fàpùrẹ̀ tẹ̀dí kẹ́ ẹ máa gbádùn ètò àríyá wa.
Wọ́n sọ fún yín pé ẹ máa wo Owambe Unlimited lórí Western Spring Television.
Evelyn Ohiole,
Hi.
King Eve. How are you today?
I'm good, I'm fine, I'm alive.
I really feel like she's not giving the right answer to the question. When one asks you, how are you? And you said, you're saying, I'm alive. It's very annoying, seriously. How are you? I'm fine. I feel I'm fine will be the right answer instead of I'm alive. Not that I asked you if you're dead before.
Go and check all these 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, everybody, they are extraordinarily sexually active.
I feel is being unnecessarily hyper when it comes to the issue of sex, because we talk about other topics and he feels so reserved. He really doesn't have anything much to say when it comes to other stuff. But when it's the issue of sex, I believe he's being unnecessarily hyper. That's when I have to pick an issue with him. I mean, it's just being unnecessarily there when we're talking about sex. Just like a child, his mom just got him his favorite chocolate or ice cream, very happy, doing as though if he doesn't have sex for a day, he's going to die.
When it comes to finance, women also support their husbands financially. You need me emotionally. You need me spiritually.
Cassie is an amazing person, but I hate the too much attachment to that gender. I need you spiritually, I need you mentally. I can get these things anywhere with money. If you go by the topic was, who does marriage favors the most? There are not many jobless women they marry every Saturday. They are saying it favors you, favor. Are they vague so?
Growing up, when I was in the world, we've heard of
Why you know?
Well, MC Too Much said he likes saying when I was in the world, and the last time I checked, well, it looks a bit innocent, facially, but deep down, he's actually out of this world. We're all in the world now. As long as you're alive, you're in the world. So, MC Too Much, I beg you talk about that. I don't want to hear that. Next time you talk about I kiss my words.
I think I have a problem with you saying ladies are champion, and that's the problem. Always trying to attach too much importance to that gender.
It's giving insecurity, it's giving low self-esteem, it's giving a blatant display of egoism. Because at the end of
Thank you so much for staying with us on Morning Spring, reaching you from Western Spring Television. You can watch us live on Star Times DTT channel 190 and also check us out on YouTube at Western Spring Television. Do well to subscribe on our channel on YouTube at Western Spring Television. Don't forget to follow us on other social media handles. Facebook, Instagram is at Western Spring Television, and on Twitter is WSTV_NG. Well, our other guest joins us live on the line now via Zoom. Mr. Ismail Omikwidon is the media aide to the former governor, Adegboyega Oyetola. He joins us this morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Morning Spring.
The pleasure is mine. Good morning, sir.
Thank you. Well, so the Adeleke administration yesterday said instead of what you claimed, or what the governor, former governor Adegboyega Oyetola claimed, that he left 14 billion naira in cash for the new government, that what they've discovered so far is that the administration left a debt portfolio of 76 billion naira in unpaid salaries, pensions, and insurance commitments. How do we reconcile these two different figures, Mr. Bikwido?
Thank you very much. I'm happy that this program is being hosted in Osun. It's not happening outside Osun. Before people will begin to say they don't really know what is happening. I'm sure you were in the state in the last 4 years. By their own claim, by the figure they put out, by implication, what it meant was that we were owing salaries for 1 year. My brother, is it possible to owe Osun workers salary for even 2 months without hearing any noise from them? So that shows very clearly that they are just lying, and that is their stock in trade. Talking about pension and gratuity. Pension and gratuity liabilities were what Osun even inherited from the old Oyo State. And so when we also came in, we also inherited same from the Aregbesol's administration. However, the difference between us and the Aregbesol's administration was that we made conscious efforts at reducing the backlog of pension and gratuities that we met. However, as we were reducing them, the ones under